Andarki namaskaram, swagatam, good evening. I welcome you all to this wonderful evening. I am very pleased to announce that we are here to attend conversation with Dr. Ratan Sharda Ji on his book Conflict Resolution, the RSS Way. Today, we will have opportunity to know deep insights about how RSS performed, thought, prevented, and held onto its own amid heavy odds and hostility in three major theatres of conflict, namely Jammu Kashmir, Punjab, and Northeastern region. Today, we will also have deeper discussion on present burning situation of Punjab. So I request our main speaker of today, Shri Ratan Sharda Ji, to come on to the stage and take his seat. I request you all to please welcome him. I also request now Shri Balreddy Garu to come on to the stage to take his seat. Now I request Shri Rakesh Kumar Singh Ji to come on to the stage and take his seat. Thank you Ratan Sharda Ji, Balreddy Garu and Rakesh Ji. We all will start the program with Bharatamata Puja. So request the dignitaries, Ratan Sharda Ji, Balreddy Garu and Rakesh Kumar Singh to come forward. And we can do the Deeparadhana. Thank you, Ratan Sharda Ji, Balreddy Garu and Rakesh. Request everyone to stand up for Vandemataram to be sung by Vinay Ji.
Saudara, Action. Rashtragit. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Sufalam. Malayaj Sheetalam Sashamalam Mataram Vande Mataram Shubhra Jyotsna Pulakitayaminim Pulla Kusumita Drumadavasho Suhasini Sumadhurvashini Sukhadam Varedam Mataram Vande Mataram Koti Koti Kantha Kala Kala Ninad Karale कोटि कोटि भुजे धृत खर कर वाले अबला के नुमाए तो बले बहुबल धारिणीं नमामि तारिणीं त्रिपुदल वारिणीं मातरं वन्दे मातरम् तुमी विद्या तुमी धर्म तुमी हृदय तुमी मर्म त्वं हि प्राण शरीरे बहुते तुमी मा शक्ति हृदये तुमी मा भक्ति तुम रही प्रतिमा गढ़ी मंदिरे मंदिरे वन्दे मातरम् त्वं हि दुर्गा दश प्रहरण धारिणी कमलां कमलदल विहारिणीं वाणी विद्या दायिनी नमामि त्वां नमामि कमलाम् अमलाम् अतुलां सुजलां सुफलां मातरं वन्दे मातरम् श्यामलां सरलां सुष्मितां भूषितां धरणिं भरणीं मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरम। भारत माता की जय।
धन्यवाद विनय जी. Now I request Rakesh Sinha ji to give a brief parichay of our honorable speaker on stage.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It is an honor to introduce our speakers on the stage. I'd like to start with a brief introduction of our main speaker, Ratan Sharda Ji. Sri Ratan Sharda Ji is a famous author, blogger, political analyst, and a renowned TV panelist. He has been a Samsvat since his early age and has worked across various levels in the sun. Born in Mumbai, December 1954, he graduated from St. Xavier College, Mumbai, did his PG from Mumbai University. He was also a ABVP member and was jailed during the emergency period when he was General Secretary of his college student union. He is also the founder member of Vishwa Adhyan Kendra, Center of International Studies, Mumbai. He also holds a diploma in textile chemistry and has varied business experiences. As columnist, he regularly contributes to the organizer, New Bharati and MaryNews.com. Now I would be giving a brief introduction of Bal Reddy Ji. Wing Commander C.H. Bal Reddy Ji is the native of Hyderabad. He joined National Defence Academy in 1992 and got commissioned in Indian Air Force in 1995. He too participated in Kargil War. He is currently working as a commercial pilot. He is a Samsevak since 2014 and did Prathamik Shiksha work. Now I would be giving a brief introduction of Rakesh Kumar Singh Ji. Wing Commander Rakesh Kumar Singh Ji was born in Bihar and had his early schooling in Bihar itself. He then moved to Orissa to finish his schooling before joining NDA in 1987. Commissioned in Indian Air Force in 1991 and served for 21 years before taking retirement in 2012. Rakesh is post-graduation in MSc in Defence Studies from Madras University. He has distinction of participating in Kargil War, during which he operated extensively over Toroling and Tiger Hills. He is presently working with an airline and settled in Hyderabad. I welcome all of you on the stage. Now I would request Sharma Ji to give a brief about the book Conflict Resolution, the RSS Way. That will be followed by conversation and question and answer.
I want to give a brief introduction of the book. So before I start, I want to give a history, few lines. In the past hundreds of years, the efforts of the invaders to wipe out any Indianness in our culture is very evident. The conflicts post-partition are more methodical and designed to be the cultural invasion to destabilize India by using the framework of democracy with the support of internal aggressors. While the country was focused on freedom struggle, there were seeds of separatism being sown which would play right after India's partition in 1947. Pakistan, the new country carved out of India, played the main role of aggression against India. It was the beginning of what followed a stretched conflict in Jammu and Kashmir for the decades to come. Punjab and the northeast region of India contributed to the list of conflicts India faced post-partition. RSS conflict resolution is bound by the unifying spirit of Bharat. It walks the talk and follows up with action on ground. A book like this and a socio-cultural organization like RSS has a bigger role to play, whereas a society we revive culturally. We evolve in certain areas as we face new challenges which threaten to destabilize the cultural pillars via amos like language, religion, caste and class. Resolution to these conflicts by a key stakeholder in RSS is a case study for its unique application and integral approach towards the problem. The author summarizes this: identifying the root cause is an important step in resolution. RSS has taken a consistent stand against separatism and a firm line against appeasement. Dr. Ratan Sharda Ji and Yashwant Phatak, the authors, have precisely covered this in their masterpiece called Conflict Resolution, the RSS Way. So now I request our main speaker, Ratan Sharda Ji, to interact with the audience for few minutes.
First of all, before I say anything, my heartfelt thanks to Samvit Prakashan, the Samvit intellectual group. Every time I come up with a publication, they are large-hearted enough to invite me and have this interaction with the audience. Coming to Hyderabad itself is a very energizing experience. I meet every time new people, I meet very exciting young youth, and I find Hyderabad growing at an exponential rate which I have not seen any other city grow. And I travel a lot, I can tell you honestly. I am so lost this time that actually I asked Ayush ji which area of Hyderabad is actually moving around this time. So I just moved in the western part of Hyderabad. I am told it is now 80 kilometers wide. So that's huge, and despite this there is a lot of order, and I see a lot of new people coming to the city and lot of interest in this kind of activity where actually Saturday, Sunday is supposed to be the only day they are free. So I thank the audience also. As far as this book is concerned, she has given a good overview. The reason for the research I did on this topic was that RSS policies decided in the Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha and Kendriya Karyakarini twice in a year, and those resolutions are the basis of its work on the field. Most of the people don't know this. They feel somebody somewhere decides something and these things start moving, there is one person directing everything. But the resolution passing itself is a very elaborate exercise. People present their ideas, they are discussed threadbare, they are modified, amended 50 times, 30 times, and finally a fine-tuned resolution is passed. It is not just passed, that resolution is activated on the ground by asking Swayamsevaks to work on it, preparing the cadre, giving them the inputs, and working on the ground. Now this aspect of Sangha work people did not, so that started me on this particular journey. My guide, Professor Yashwant Phatak, gave this idea. And then when I quantified those approaches, so just to give a figure, why I chose this topic. So till 2014, number of resolutions passed on Jammu Kashmir is 25. Number of resolutions passed on Northeastern region, which is these are subjects of my research, 17. Number of resolutions on Punjab, where the trouble began in 1980, was 12. Resolutions passed on national security, 21. On Bangladesh and East Pakistan, 14. Pakistan, 15. China, 4. So you can realize that mischief that happens around us is all noted by Sangha. Then there are national issues where 40 resolutions are passed. On cultural issues, 14. On Hindu society and reform, 15. Minorities, 22. So it was such a vast area to cover. I decided to concentrate on these three topics. And what we find is that for each region, a certain policy decided based on Sangha strength in that area, issues that come there, and then how to take it forward. So the resolution to Jammu Kashmir is different. Resolution or talking about Punjab problem is different, and tackling Northeast is different. For example, Punjab was strongest in terms of Sangha strength during partition. There were more than 1200 shakhas, there were more than 200 pracharaks. In Sindh itself, there were about 46 pracharaks, including Advani ji and Chamatwal, Wadhwani, etc. Northeast, there was no work. Bengal, it was weak. But all the areas, whatever they could, they did. In fact, during the attack on Jammu Kashmir, scores of Swayamsevaks sacrificed their lives to support the army in defense of Jammu Kashmir. They went along with the army on the front lines, picked up armaments, made roads, bridges, airfield runways, etc. And many lost their lives. After that, when 370 came, it was a sustained campaign for 70 years, coming with new ideas, new issues. In fact, dividing Kashmir into Jammu Kashmir in three parts was mooted by Sangh in 1993. And there was huge hue and cry, including people who actually dominate the scene in the name of secular politics and secularism. They were very upset because that was their game plan of controlling entire Jammu Kashmir using Delhi as their launching pad. So all these issues were brought up. Then again there was a lot of change in the scenario. Then 2001, Jammu Kashmir Study Center was created. New research was done because everybody said as per law you cannot do it, as per constitution you cannot do it. Then the origins of 370 and 35A, a clause which was hidden in annexure of the constitution, which nobody knew, including Supreme Court lawyers and judges, that was found out. And that is how the new narrative was created, that how Jammu Kashmir actually is this entire 370 is an injustice on people of Jammu Kashmir. A million people who moved from Layalpur and that belt of Punjab to Jammu Kashmir, because they were poor, they were scheduled caste and tribes, they didn't have money to go to Punjab. So those who moved to Punjab, two of them became Prime Minister, Manmohan Singh and Inder Kumar Gujral. But these 1 million people, I mean by the time it happened it was 1 million people, they had no state rights, they were not citizens of the state, they had no right to education, no right to employment, no right to join any forces. That was the condition. So they were in the areas where they had no facilities for 70 years. Nobody talked about them. There are Safai Karmacharis called Valmikis from Punjab who were called to Jammu Kashmir because they didn't have people to sweep and do the scavenging. They were promised citizenship, they were promised all the rights, they got no rights. So if a Safai Karmachari did PhD, he would only get a job as a Safai Karmachari. If I was an Olympic champion, I would get only job as a sweeper. These are the laws passed under citizenship law under 370-35A. Not only that, women have, in 1981, new citizenship law was created which took away all the rights of women. That means if they married outside Kashmir or non-Kashmiri, their citizens, their hereditary rights go. They cannot get property from their parents. They cannot give their property to their children. At the same time, if somebody came from outside and married a Kashmiri, that person would become a Kashmiri. That girl would become a Kashmiri and get all the rights. So the best example of this discrimination was that Sheikh Abdullah married a British woman. She became Kashmiri. His two sons and daughter. Son married a Hindu from Rajasthan. She became Kashmiri. The daughter married a congressman outside Kashmir. She became non-Kashmiri. All this was happening in the name of secularism, the name of special rights of Jammu Kashmir. All this was brought out. And sustained campaign for 70 years finally resulted in what we today see a step towards the resolution. At the same time, if you look at Punjab, as I talked about partition, there was nobody fighting for Hindus and Sikhs. It was only Sangh and Akali Dal and those forces, Arya Samaj, etc. They paid very heavy price. Despite that, they were banned. There are cases of, I have one of the lists in the book where I have given the name of handwritten list of 33 martyrs who died alone just in Amritsar during 6 months of riots. We don't know about anything about it. Then of course I talk about Khalistan movement, etc. The Northeast says there was no work there, and when Eknath Banerjee went there, he moved there for 1 month and he straight away came to Maharashtra, met Babarao Bhide who was a Sangh Chalak, and he said, I need 10 Pracharaks immediately because we don't start work in Northeast now. It was called Assam at that time. In 30 years, Assam will be gone out of India. So immediately when he gave a Bauddhik there, he gave a lecture there, he immediately got 8 Pracharaks there. 1 Pracharak came from Punjab, 1 Pracharak came from Rajasthan. So 10 Pracharaks went to Northeast with no base at all. Nothing, no Karyalaya, don't know where to go, how to go. In fact, the day they went there was floods and they got stuck on the way. They walked all the way to Guwahati. So there on the Sanghamra started. Now because there was domination of church, you could not start Shakha, you could not meet people. Initial work started with Rajasthanis, then slowly it spread to the local people. And from there on, realizing that they cannot do this Shakha directly, they started Seva Karya, they started schools. So this creation of schools, creation of Seva Karyas over a period of time, building faith in indigenous people about their faith because they were persecuted. The indigenous people were not allowed to practice their religion. If one person became a Christian, an entire family had to become a Christian, or you could persecute or prosecute or isolate that particular family. So this movement of tribal self-respect began, which is showing result after 70 years now. Many people are returning. This took years and years of work, including nobody stood for the Chakmas, for Ryangs and all these people who actually were dishoused because they were not converting. These issues were brought up, their support system was created for them, disaster management was done as and when required, and what you see now is not a sudden transformation. So the turnaround that you see, that you clap for, actually has a sacrifice of hundreds of pracharas, many people who were killed, of those pracharas who were killed, kidnapped, tortured, killed, and nameless people who started schools, seva karyas. One pet story which I always talk about is Bhaiyaji Kane, who was a teacher in Dombivali, Mumbai. Guruji told him, you are already elder and you should be working in Assam. So he said, okay. So he went to Assam. He started a school in Ukhrul. Ukhrul is about 6 kilometers from Myanmar border, I think, and Manipur. So you took 2 days to reach there and work. So he started a school there. He thought that we need to take people to, other parts of Bharat, bring other people here, so people understand we are from the same nation, we should work together, we are all brothers and all, because there was a sense of isolation which lasted till 2014 also, I would say. That was one of the causes for rebellions being continuously happening there. So he said, I will take these children to Mumbai, show them around, get them educated, and I will bring them back. So somebody said, no, this guy will kidnap these boys and girls, and no, we cannot give. He will sell their kidneys and all that. So he had a child, a student of his called Jan. He is still alive. So he told Jan, he said, this boy of mine will stay with you. If I come back, you give my boy back, and you take care of children. If I don't come back, you have this child as a hostage. Child also agreed, imagine. That is how the first student experience in interstate living was born. So such stories that inspire you, this is how slowly Sangha has managed to change the scenario around at a cost which you don't even imagine. So these are the stories which come in this. This is not a story about Sangha theory, Sangha Shaka, Hindutva. This is a story about Sangha application on the field. How the thinking about nation works on the field. How the national unity, the cultural unity of the nation becomes the underpinning of every thinking. When Congress was continuously down whether Northeast belongs to us, whether Assam belongs to us, whether Mizo and Nagas are part of Bharat, a kind of sense, guilt they carried. Whether Kashmir is ours or not, Nehru ji sir, आपका इच्छा होगा तब रहना, नहीं तो चले जाना, आपको पाकिस्तान को दे देंगे, whatever. So this, we had never a doubt. Because for us, Kashmir was not the issue of referendum or issue of majority Muslim. For us, it was that Kashmir is the fountainhead of Bharatiya civilization of Hindu Dharma. It has a 4,000-year-old history, written, documented, about which many of us are not even conversant. Abhinav Gupta nobody knew about, so even that was celebrated by Sangha. So that is how slowly you change around the entire thinking of the nation. That is one lesson. Secondly, Sangha never saw anything in isolation. So something happened in Assam, another sporadic incident in Srinagar, something happens in Punjab, something happens in Marath. All these are how they are interconnected, how the forces which see today, what we call anti-national forces, today gangs, they were marked out, joined, dots were joined by Sangha during its resolutions. So the kind of Muslim terrorism that started in Kerala, kind of alliance these people, these extremist jihadi elements had in Assam, in Bengal, or the tie-up that Punjabi Khalistani elements had with Kashmiri terrorists. This was always highlighted by Sangha. So this is how you see that the sense of looking at the whole nation as one has been brought out. Now coming specific to Punjab. Punjab problem started not now, they started way back in 1929, I would say around 1920 or 1920, when British created a separate SGPC, I think 1925. So, Shri Gurudwara Pradhan Committee was the first step. After, of course, the McAuliffe history, which was released, the Sikh history, which is today the pet history of Khalistanis, which was distortion of the real history. Interpretation of Sikh scriptures are also distorted by McAuliffe. And by Nabha Singh, Kanha Nabha Singh, he was the person who actually used that particular literature to create an entirely different narrative about Sikh identity. But 25 British then played further game, SGPC was created. So that is how slowly this separation of Sikhi from the Hindu mainstream was created. During 47, demand for separate Khalistan state was made, but it was made that they should not be crushed between Pakistan and Bharat, and they don't have their identity. So Master Tara Singh, a huge patriot, fought for their place as Punjabi Suba or Khalistan because they wanted to hive off from Punjab. He said partition Punjab and create a separate Khalistan of us, remove all the Muslims from there. His house was burnt, his 59 relatives were killed, and he came to Bharat after that. So from there on, Congress played a lot of politics there. It did not, the language issue was also, with due regret, was accentuated by RS Samaj during 1950 census. RS Samaj said you write a mother tongue as Hindi. But Guruji was very strongly against it. Guruji condemned those people. He told Swayamsevaks not to fall for it. He said Punjabi is your mother tongue. Every regional language is wonderful, and every regional language is national language. So you must write this mother tongue because this is your mother tongue. So the first agitation that started in Punjabi for Punjabi was the kind of rift that was created by both Akalis as well as even our own very highly over-enthusiastic Hindus. As the issue settled down, finally language was accepted as one of the languages. Then Punjabi Suba demand was not fulfilled. Linguistic states began getting formed somewhere in 53. But Punjab was not considered a state because Congress thought that once Punjabi state or Punjabi Suba is stated, they will lose control of the state. So they kept on postponing the decision. Again, Sangha supported the decision, though Guruji was against linguistic states from beginning. But he said if all the states are done on linguistic state, why are you delaying Punjab? So that sense of bitterness remained in the Sikh Qaum and also Punjabis, and then Punjabi Suba was made. Again to create a problem, Chandigarh was not resolved. 2 districts of Punjabi majority was given to Haryana. 2 districts were given to Himachal Pradesh. So what they got was something, corrupted, something which was not resolvable. So this bitterness continued. Then when Akalis won the election, Congress didn't allow that particular government to last. Every day was broken. Indira Gandhi was playing games with them. So that is when Anandpur Sahib resolution came, which talked of religious-based state, which talked about federalism, which talked about more rights to the state, basically a secondist kind of resolution. And then that finally resulted in Khalistani movement 1981, then Bhindranwale was created. And that Bhindranwale was used by Indira Gandhi, also used by Akali Dal. Indira Ji thought she could control Bhindranwale. Akali Dal thought we could control Bhindranwale. So Sant Longawala said he is a danda with which we are going to beat Congress. But none could do anybody, because once you ride a tiger, you cannot dismount it. Finally, thousands of people died. There are figures in the book about, and of those 61%, about 61% were Sikhs, not Hindus or security forces. RSS continuously not only just passed resolution, they created special bodies. There was Punjab Rashtriya Suraksha Samiti. I was fortunate to talk to a gentleman who was a pracharak first, then a karyakarta called Jai Krishan Ji. He died recently before the book was published. In fact, this book is dedicated to him. So when resolution passed in 1986 that we should do something for Sikh Hindu unity, we cannot break the unity. So he said we are passing resolutions, what we have to do actually. So he was called to Delhi and they said, okay, we start this activity. Who will take responsibility? He said, if nobody takes, I will take the responsibility. So Adhikaris asked him, you know the result, What will happen? He said, I will be killed at the most. What will happen? And then bravely, he continuously fought on the field. He would take public meetings. He would carry julus, morchas and all. He took a Rashtriya Dharam Yudh Morcha from Punjab to Delhi all the way. Huge meetings were held. Of course, the reporting I got only in Punjabi newspapers which he had. There is no document anywhere else. And when I met him, he was disabled below his, legs. And he said, I am satisfied at least now people will know about what Sangha has done in Punjab. So that was very important document, all the press cuttings and all. He challenged Bhindranwale openly in the field. He never carried a security guard. And then slowly people who were leaving Punjab stopped leaving Punjab. The idea of terror was that Hindus should leave Punjab. Those who opposed Khalistan should leave Punjab. But they refused to leave Punjab. Slowly that exodus slowed down. And finally peace returned. Of course, KPS Gill came and there was huge, very strict action. Those who created that demon, they paid a price. Beyond Singh lost his life, who gave KPS Gill full free hand. And Indira Ji lost her life. But finally when peace returned, the important part which joins me to today's Khalistan is that people who were quiet all this time, they came out as human rights activists. A number of cases, hundreds of cases are put against policemen for violating human rights. Those people who could not come out of homes, they started talking of human rights. And that led to one of the most sad part when one of the ex-IGPs, Mr. Sandhu, committed suicide. A.S. Sandhu. And there were continuous houndings. So the Punjab police was facing 85 CBI inquiries, 91 judicial probes. 30 policemen were in jail, hundreds were on bail, 140 including 7 SPs were facing prosecution with CBI on the Supreme Court order. No less than 1/6 of the 70,000 strong force may find itself in the dock, admitted senior officer. And a police officer said those who fought terrorism is now being looked upon by their own seniors as criminals. So RSS condemned that also. And to end this particular chapter, what KPS Gill Singh said we are far from the edge of the abyss. Let this nation beware of the hour when no man will risk his life to protect another or to defend the nation. जोश महिलावादी once wrote, बिजलों के इश्क में शैदा मुझे क्यों कर दिया, इस नामर्द देश में पैदा मुझे क्यों कर दिया. These are the words of KPS Gill. And this is how finally the price paid by security forces and the nation resulted in calming the waters in Punjab. That brings me to Khalistan 2.0. People generally ask what is the difference between Khalistan 1.0 and Khalistan 2.0.
He deserves a big round of applause. We are only used to seeing him on the TV screens and he doesn't give time to anybody. So when he's all guns blazing, people have to just shut up and listen. So Ratan Ji, true to your, I think you all know that we are part of this Samvit Kendra event today. I represent Samvit Kendra. Otherwise, I would have loved to be amongst you, sit there and enjoy this conversation or that speak of Ratan Ji. But I will do a little gap filling. I am here as one of you who's going to have a conversation with who's on the extreme left, Wing Commander Rakesh Singh. He happens to be my senior in the Air Force. He's flown both fighter planes and helicopters. And he's been an exceptional pilot, participated in Kargil. He's been a trainer for the instructors in the Air Force. So very qualified man from the forces. And we have a very popular media person here in the center. So I will first get you all to know our guest on the extreme left, Wing Commander Rakesh Kumar Singh. So I call him RK sir from the Air Force Day, so I'll use the same, it's easy for me. So RK sir, for the benefit of the audience here, who come all the way on a weekend, not spending time with family, some of them have come with families, there are children also. So tell us your experiences with the forces and your stay in Punjab, Kashmir, Northeast. I know we will be very superficial when it comes to talking about these terms as compared to Ratan Ji, but nevertheless, the audience will understand our conversation little easy, and then we'll promote them to understand Ratan Ji's through our Q&A with him. Please go ahead.
Vandematara. Thanks, Voldy. Thanks for a lovely introduction. The fact remains that I was with the Air Force for 21 years, served in various areas, disturbed areas of the Northeast. So I was posted in the Northeast in the times of the early 90s when the Ulfa problem was at its peak. Thereafter shifted towards Kashmir. While the first election after the 90s, when it took place, I was there participating in that in terms of shifting people from the old panels from different places. So we did get an experience did get a chance to experience the whole thing up close. But the fact will remain that when it comes to us, especially in the Air Force, we are not the men on the boot, we are not the boot on the ground. It's the army which is the boot on the ground. So they get the first-hand experience, we get just a feel of it. So within the field, you realize that the problems that existed in the Northeast or the problem that existed in Kashmir are two different worlds. The Northeast was, as Ratan sir had brought out, a classical case of neglect. Neglect from the central forces. When I say central forces, I mean the central government, where it was treated just as an outer limb. Time milega to dekhenge, that kind of an attitude. Kashmir continued to remain in the center. I went to Kashmir for the first time in '97, and trust me, the feeling was I was an alien country. They treated us as an outside agency. You could see the hatred in their eyes, you could feel the whole hatred which existed in the valley. From there, coming to this position where now if you visit Kashmir, I have had an opportunity year before last to go. Things have changed quite a bit. Interesting part is, more often than not, the problem is the loud mouths, the people who speak the loudest are the ones who get heard. And the silent majority, sadly, the silent is the majority, but they remain quiet, and the result is people from outside start assuming that the loud voices that we are hearing is the actual story of the place, which is not the case. Kashmir also, whatever I told you about the early 90s, where you felt a hatred, trust me, the hatred was still on the result of the loud mouths. Anybody who sided with India was a target in the valley. So you had no choice. So even if you wanted to side with India, you had no choice but to go along with them. So when it comes to conflict resolution, whatever my understanding of the subject has been, that any conflict, be it within the family or at a larger scale of the national front or otherwise, it will always remain that you have to identify the character of the problem. Can you solve the problem or can you not solve the problem in the immediate? If you can't solve the problem in the immediate, what you do is what is called as manage the problem. You manage the problem till a point where in the background you keep working to soften the attitude of the adversary, and in due course of time come to the solution. So world across, there may be different writers giving different versions of what are the conflict phases. But if you were to broadly categorize what are the conflict phases, any severe conflict will have the early phase where is conflict management. And then comes the phase of conflict solution. That is the typical narrative that you get to see everywhere. So during the conflict management, there will have to be the use of force as well. If you find the situation is going out of hand, there will be management through the use of force. Soften the adversary to the point where he comes to the negotiating table. That's exactly how it was done in the Northeast. In Kashmir, it has been more like The whole thing was, the fulcrum was around Article 370, which prevented even the central agencies to actually sort out the problem. Removal of 370 itself is the fulcrum through which we are seeing the resolution that we are coming to. But the fact will remain that the abrogation of Article 370 itself is a use of force in its own way. Maybe a democratic process, maybe a parliamentary process, but the fact remains that it was a force which was utilized. That's why so much of anti-voices that you got to hear both within India and outside. So as I understand, every way it will be conflict management till the time you can get to a position where you can find a solution. So here I would like to ask Ratan sir, as far as RSS is concerned, how does it view the conflict resolution? Is it anything different from these two different phases, or is it the same?
Wing Commander, thanks so much for your perspective. See, one thing that that is very different from other nations is that there is no voluntary organization. No voluntary organization actually being a part of the solution. Everywhere in the world there is government, there is force, and there are the insurgents. Only in Bharat we had a force like Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh which became a part of solution, trying to present some kind of solution, supporting the nation state despite criticizing it in many ways the way things were handled. As pointed out earlier, what RSS looks at the strong underpinning of national unity through culture. Culturally we are one. We may express it in a diverse way. We are all our own people. That's why I talked about many parties believing in fact that Northeast was not part of India. Jammu Kashmir was taken by force. They are not part of Bharat. So this idea itself that India was never a nation, and these areas were never part of our Bharat, that exacerbated the entire issue of this conflict. So RSS, we are looking at the conflict as part of our entire nationhood was one first different issue. Second was creating the right atmosphere in that particular society, in that particular state that was different. Managing, of course, managing is part of government job. It is not part of a voluntary organization job. Voluntary organization is strong. Its job can be to create conducive atmosphere. Even if it takes 10 years, 20 years, as you know that Northeast has been under insurgency, longest insurgency maybe in the world, 7 decades. Jammu Kashmir lasted for 70 years. Otherwise, if you look at the life of insurgencies, about 10 to 12 years, maximum 20 years, very few have survived that time. Either has gone to the government or has gone to the insurgents. So the supporting role that RSS creates in creating the conducive atmosphere is what is its contribution. Basically, management of conflict, as you pointed out, using force where required, being soft when required, that is government's job, and we can only as a society play a complementary role.
Yeah, Ratan Ji, how about humanitarian values? How does Sangh deal with that while dealing with a conflict? At the same time, does it, you can say, emote with the problem creators? Or how does it manage on one side the people who are causing the problem, and the other side the ones who are being victimized in that particular area? So how does Sangh manage this in a typical situation like in in Punjab?
In case of Khalistan, for example, RSS firm view was that Hindu Sikhs cannot be separated. It may be separate religion, but it has born out of Vedic roots, and we have relation of skin and nails, because each family has some Sikh as part of the family, either as a cousin or as a son-in-law or as a daughter-in-law. For us, temple and Gurdwara doesn't make any difference. For some, we are the same. So any program that is supposed to happen in a village will happen in a Gurdwara without whether it's Keshadhari or non-Keshadhari. So for Hindus and like any Indian and Sangh, it was Keshadhari, non-Keshadhari, what we call Sikh and Munna. Munna is who doesn't wear pagdi and doesn't have dadi. For people who don't know Punjabi, they feel if somebody is not wearing dadi and pagdi, he is not Punjabi. People used to ask me, are you Punjabi? You don't wear pagdi. But actually they are all from the same family. All the gurus were from the same community. This Sikh, this is Khalsa Panth. So after 10th Guru, gave the call for Khalsa, that is fighting army of pure, that was also joined by all the Hindus from every caste, from every part of geography. And that is how you see distinct identity of Khalsa, which we wrongly believe are only Sikhs. So there are a lot of Sikhs who are Sahajdaris, who are Sindhis or Punjabis, who believe in Guru Granth Sahib, who believe in the teachings of Guru, but they are not Sikhs. So this was stressed a lot by RSS there. So on that ground we can say that lot of trouble and sacrifice paid, where in 3 places RSS shakas were fired at. 25 people died in Moga, 3 people died in Ludhiana, another 11 people died in Dabwali. That was the price we paid for calling out for unity. But as far as terrorists were concerned, it was very firm that they have to take it very fearlessly. If there need to be, every kind of force will be used. On that it was very clear. At the same time, Operation Blue Star was post factly supported by RSS, realizing that nothing could be done, but it was very cautious. It did not recommend Operation Blue Star, but it did finally say, okay, the rest to be done. It was done with very heavy heart. It sought forgiveness. Not only that, when the Jodhpur detainees were there and people wanted them to be released, RSS called for the release. But government took its own time to release them. It released them at a very wrong time when this Khalistan is rising again during those periods. So that is how it takes. So in Northeast, a completely humanitarian approach, but if there is terrorists, there is separatists, have to be very firm. Janet doesn't believe in diplomatic solutions as far as this negotiation is concerned. Is oppose the Mizo deal, for example, so it turns out to be good. But anybody can make a miscalculation. That was one of the steps I would say where RSS did not see the diplomatic part of it, but otherwise very firm on those issues.
While they are not just giving an academic resolution to any conflict, they are also on the ground dealing with the conflict. So should we open the forum for Q&A from the audience?
Sir, my name is Srika. I'm from Nationalist Hub. I want to ask you one thing, sir. Respected military veterans and sir, there is a thing in Northeast called Naga Regiment. Many ways it's highlighted in army, either Naga Regiment or Gorkha Rifles, Assam Rifles, or take it any different Northeast Regiment. Or when you come in down south, Madras Regiment, everything has its own thing. But when you come from different regiments and you get compiled in the different groups, you don't feel any regional differences or anything. Same follows with RSS. When some pracharak from down south and goes to Haryana or Himachal Pradesh and he does his pracharak, he doesn't think any difference. He thinks that the entire territory is of my own land. But when a common man from an individual state, for example, when a common man from Maharashtra go to UP, his mindset will be changed. So like what I want to ask is how to change this common man's mindset, thinking that every territory is mine.
See, the fact remains that let's say the Naga regiment or the Madras regiment, they get deployed all across the country. They are not deployed. It's not that the Nagas are there only defending Nagaland or the Madras is there in Tamil Nadu or something. They get deployed across the country. The regiment as such maybe till earlier. Now things are changing. Earlier it used to be people used to come from the same stock, same area. Now that's not the case. Now there is an intermix which is taking place. This is as a result of whatever happened post 1984, when there was a bit of mutiny which took place within the Sikh formations. So from there, the fact remains that slowly the dilution is taking place, but the fact will remain that they still come from a generic area. The officers are not from that area. The officers commanding them, a Gurkha regiment could be commanded by a Madras officer. Similarly, Punjab regiment or a Punjab Sikhlai could be commanded by somebody else. So what happens when you get deployed to different areas, you get exposed to different kind of people, your mindset changes. Same thing when it goes to the normal civil crowd that you're talking about. As we move more and more to different areas, you'll become more and more broad-minded. Today, if you see, the fact remains that I was born in Bihar. I have served all across the country. Serving one of the largest chunk of my service career was in South India. So my outlook to South India will be very different from vis-a-vis somebody who is from that typical village from where I have come from. The same thing is going to happen. Right now, thanks to social media, one, and second, the travel, because of our job and job opportunities, people are moving all across. Just give it time. Just give it time. We will amalgamate and become more amenable to each other. The differences that we see will disappear. Just give it time.
So I'll request the audience to focus the questions on Khalistan and get the benefit of Ratan Sharda Ji's presence, and especially conflict resolution, RSS Way. So if you keep the Q&As to that, I think we'll benefit the most because time is really at premium and he has a flight to catch post the event.
Namaste everyone. This is Gautam, and of course question to Ratan Sharda Ji. Namaste to him. I am a Punjabi, so more or less my roots are from Punjab and my parents belong to Punjab. And there is a big transition which has happened. I think I'll just come to the point directly. I think Khalistani movement started somewhere, as Ratan Sharda Ji shared, is around 1940, where it picked up. Jagjit Singh Chauhan Ji actually first coined that term as Khalistan. Over a period of time, that got subdued because most of the CMs or the leaders were basically Mona Punjabis, mostly initial CMs I'm talking about. Later on, Akali Dal and other Sikh communities started coming into the politics because Sikhs were mostly into agriculture, if I'm not wrong, and Monas were mostly into the trading part, the business part of it. So, as I think you were coming to that point, my question, I'll once again come. You were about to speak about Khalistan 1.0 and Khalistan 2.0. So, just if you can share, that is very, very important for everybody to understand, and how I felt while going through the series of events which are happening not only in Punjab, but overall other parts of the country where no such divide is happening now. No, it is more of Hindus and Sikh rather than earlier. It was like you shared the data of killing of initial first Khalistani movement was mostly Sikhs were killed, but now it is more towards the Hindu side. So that divide is coming between the same sect, as you rightly said. I think in your interview, one of the interviews I saw that in your Twitter also, that Sikh basically were Hindus. They were taken, they were converted. One member of the child of the Hindu family was shifted to Sikh family. So just wanted to understand that what is the difference now?
You have made some points and very interesting points. Actually, Punjab situation is not between agriculturists and others. It is not even a friction between Sikhs and non-Sikhs. It is some madcap people who have decided that they have injustice on them and they should have a Khalistan. And if you look at the entire Punjab situation at that time, even during Khalistan time, Punjabis, Monas and Sikhs were nearly the same ratio. As we always find, majority of people keep quiet. During earlier, terrorist days, I used to go to Punjab a lot of times. So many Sikhs would feel Khalistan to bani jayega, jo hota hai hone do kinds. They would make jokes, but there was no division between Hindu Sikhs at the common level. And when their own daughters started getting picked up by the terrorists, they would come at the night, khana khilao, ye ladki bhej do, ye bahu bhej do. That is when they realized that these people have no humanity, they have no interest in Khalistan, they basically they are goons. That is when the tide turned from the society, apart from the police work. So this unity of Sikh and Hindus, which could not be broken during 1890, was the result of resolution of the problem in a given time. Pakistani people conceded that we failed to utilize Khalistan movement to break India because Hindu Sikhs could not be divided. So then on the project started of creating literature, creating intellectual capital, distorting history, distorting scriptures, providing enough funds for them to create very wonderful, literature, twisted of course, to create this kind of separatist attitude. So Longo one began appearing in all the gurdwaras across the world. Then the person who created Kanishka disaster bombing, he also became a hero. So this change happened subtly, and during last 30 years, biggest problem that I see today is alienation of young Sikhs. So Sikhs above 50, 60 have no problem. They still believe one we cannot be separated. Ye sab nonsense hai, to Hindu Sikh ek hi hai. But the new generation is very, alienated from the other society. They believe they are nothing to do with Hindus. They have become more Islamist than they are Sikhs now. That is the only worrying point. Second plus point is that Khalistani movement was in the heart of Punjab, but 2.0 is outside Punjab, outside Bharat. Only thing, because of social media, you see a lot of, I would say, noise. For example, somebody from UK was telling me on YouTube that the kind of indecent language you saw from the Sikhs and abusing people, they were just 26, and more than 100 were other Indians standing there for Bharat. But because of the social media distortion, news distortion, we only see those two people abusing women or abusing Gujarati person or somebody, but not the people who are standing for Bharat. So I think this bubble will burst, because once they have chosen the wrong leader, like Amritpal, he has no religious background. They have chosen to present the entire idea in a very gaulish and gunish manner, that Mundaism apparent to the people. So Sikhs realize very soon that they cannot be really well-wishers of Sikh society. And all the people are carrying the noise. None of them will come back to Bharat. That is a challenge I have given on the TV to those people, and they kept quiet. Their relatives have gone out. They have gone out. They are millionaires there. They have got acres and acres of land there. They have no interest in coming back. So let them make Khalistan in their own country. यहाँ तो किसी को चाहिए ही नहीं. Or then they have no sense of shame. Today, a Sikh has been killed in Afghanistan. Has anybody spoken from Khalistan? No. 2 days back, a Hindu doctor who had done surgery free of cost to lakhs of people was killed in Pakistan. Have they stood up? No. Granthi's daughter was picked up in Nankana Sahib. Did they speak up? No. So it shows that they are slaves of Pakistan. So any self-respecting Sikh will not stand with them. It is just the noise that you see, but it is less serious than the Khalistan 1.0. At the same time, seriousness is looked at the alienation of the Sikh youth because of our own inaction to respond to those people in the language they understand, and to produce the right scriptures and literature on history, which shows that this kind of misinterpretation of Guru Granth Sahib is not correct. That is the fight. If we can present that positively, maybe another 10 years they will understand.
We'll deny others. So let's keep it to just the question, request the audience, just the question.
See, basically, we all know the theory. We are part of the solution. We are part of the entire discussion we have. So don't go back and tell the same story. I would rather if I just give the question, we will understand the context.
Ji, namaskar. My name is Prasad Peketi. I have got a question in terms of conflicts that are arising out of generation shifts. So now more of the youngsters in Punjab, we see that they are getting into the revolutionary mode and more of drugs influence. And also we see that a lot of conversion into Christianity that is also happening. So what are the ways how it can be addressed? Thank you.
I think the second part I already answered in the first question when I said that we have to come back, we have to present the old scriptures, we have to present the original history, we have to present the original context and the meaning of the Shabads of Sant. You know that Dasham Granth is no more exposed anywhere except Patna Sahib. You can't even recite it in most of the Gurdwaras. A Granthi complained that he cannot read many Shabads because they are typically Hindu. You cannot talk about Chandi Diwar, which Guru Gobind Singh Ji wrote. History has been distorted. So all this has to be quickly brought out and presented to the people. The only reason I wrote a book on Guru Nanak Dev was I wanted to present the context of Guru Nanak Dev. Trying to separate him from Hindu or Vedic thought and trying to connect somewhere else. You ask any Sikh youth, if you are so great, you love your Islamic brothers, tell me one Shabad which comes from Quran. Tell me once Guru Granth Sahib where you have named thousands of times Krishna, Hari, Govind, one time when Muhammad is called for, Jesus has been called up. Guru Nanak Dev went all the way to Makkah, debated with Maulvis, but he didn't refer them anywhere in the book. So these issues have to be brought and to present the right picture. That is the only solution. And as far as generation conflict is concerned, it is totally different issue. I have been talking to young people since last 2-3 days in university. That is a different, totally different context. I will not take it up right now. It's that Mukhism we thought it was a joke. It's not a joke. It's a very serious issue. New left is a very serious threat. which is certainly killing our entire new generation or removing it from the right thinking. So that's a new battle which has to fight very separate. It's a mind game going on. And unless we recognize that game itself, which we don't even recognize today, we treat it as a joke. It's much more serious. So that has to be tackled in a very, very different way. It's a purely intellectual warfare.
That question was answered well. I would like to add something like what can each one of us do is something we'll have to think after this session. It is not that someone in Punjab has to do or RSS has to do. Each one of us as Swayam Sevak or a non-Swayam Sevak also, we have to each one of us think how can we contribute, because any problem anywhere in the country is a problem of all of us, and we have to contribute. Either start understanding what is Sikhism all about, how was it a part of Hinduism, still a part of Hinduism, and never fall for the separatist ideas. So with that, we'll take the last question of the event, and there's already a taker with the mic here, so we'll have to take his question.
Dr. Ratan, I'm really fortunate to be in your presence. I've been following you on YouTube. My question is regarding this center and state conflict with respect to the border states. So, like for Punjab, Rajasthan, and Himachal Pradesh, which is also part of it, is claimed by Khalistanis. So, since law and order is a state subject, what role can RSS play from a conflict resolution perspective with relation to center-state conflict? You know, in terms of being able to react to some of these separatists. See, as Bala sir rightly pointed out, we as citizens have to fight the battle. It's not for RSS to fight the battle. We are RSS. Because RSS can give ideas, RSS can give you the right content, and you have to fight, first of all. Secondly, you cannot talk Khalistan if you don't talk of the area held by Maharaja Ranjit Singh as the only Sikh kingdom we had. If we can't talk of those areas, forget about talking about Khalistan. So it is a myth. Rajasthan is not part of that particular issue. Don't mix up Rajasthan and Himachal Pradesh with Khalistan issue. This is the political game that is going on. Nothing to do with conflict. It is purely political upmanship. So it's a separate issue. It's a purely political issue. And as soon as the government changes this issue, will die down.
Ratan sir, though it was already announced as the last question, but I had kept one to ask on a very personal level. Going back to the year 2008-2009, when I was doing my MSc Defense Studies, we had a guest speaker, Mr. MJ Akbar. So the topic was Kashmir, Pakistan, and whatever. I posed a question to him, and I posed the same question to you of RSS and the so-called right-wing thinkers. What do we think about it? The general thought process, including in the military for quite some time, it was that a stable, strong Pakistan is in our favor. Pure, normal, common sense is defied by this sentence. How can my enemy being strong be in my favor? Is something I have always contested, and I contest even today. A broken up Pakistan is the best solution for India, because then we can eat it piecemeal. That's the way I look at it. What is the perspective of RSS on this?
Ratan ji, our Bandhu is waiting from the first question, so just one last question, please.
It's an honor to be here, and thank you for the nice words for Hyderabad. I have one question. What is the contribution of Wahhabism, evangelism in Khalistan 2.0? Are we potentially looking at further partitions in next 25 years?
As far as point one is concerned, you rightly pointed out that during Khalistan 1 there was no evangelism in Punjab. Christianity was on the margins. Right now, Christianity is huge in Punjab. The question that we keep on asking SGPC continuously and the so-called Khalistanis is, they have billions of dollars with them, why they are not fighting conversion? The isolation of Biharis, UP walas who are there, who are got bhaiyas and who are being slapped left and right and treated very badly. The Majhabis, which is basically scheduled castes, not treated well. Their Gurdwara separate. Nobody mixes with them in the society. Akali Dal and Akali politics have been hijacked only by Jat Sikhs. All these are very serious issues, and evangelism then becomes a problem. They are not showing up as supporters of Khalistan, but there is a huge chunk of people who are being converted who will not remain part of the mainstream of society, and that has to be looked upon very seriously by themselves, and including people who espouse the cause of Sikhi. They say Hindus will destroy Sikhi, but these evangelists will destroy Sikhi. In terms of Khalistan, Wahhabis is not the problem. Pakistan is the problem. So Pakistan supplies the right kind of intellectual material, support, funds to make all these issues. So instigate them. And that was our question, right?
Yeah.
Now coming to Sar's question. Sangha talks of Akhand Bharat. Maharishi Aurobindo talked about Akhand Bharat. We did not at that time when Maharishi Aurobindo saw the vision of Akhand Bharat, when he said that you can fulfill the destiny only when Bharat becomes one again, partition will destroy its energy, it will not help India reach its destiny. So we are all clear that Pakistan has to go. In which way? Akhand Bharat, what shape Pakistan will take, we do not know. A strong Pakistan being good, it can be good if it's not Islamic. But if it's not Islamic, it cannot remain Pakistan. So then what is the next logic? That because it is only Islamic, because it is not, does not have a really cultural roots as a nation, it will dismember itself. It will implode, because sooner or later when a handful of Punjabis with controlling the destiny of the nation through army, through business, through agriculture, are imposing the culture. None of them is Urdu speaking. Punjabis speak horrible Urdu, but they impose their Urdu on Sindhis, on Pashtuns, on Baluchis, on POJK people. None of this is going to work. I forgot to add that these POJK people are not allowed citizenship by the same Sheikh Abdullah in Kashmir because they were Shia. Shias nahi chahiye sunne ko. Same problem in Pakistan. So when you are not respecting the regional culture of those people, which we in India do, it is bound to have resentment. So Baluchis are never happy with Pakistan. Pashtuns have refused to recognize Durrand line. So those Pashtuns will go to Afghanistan if they are strong Talibani. Something will happen there. Similarly, Sindhis, those silent people, not very violent people, they have been unhappy with them. So as this particular exploitation of Pakistan, these few people of the entire population is there, slowly Pakistan will implode. Now it has gone bankrupt because you cannot live, घास खाएंगे पर atom bomb बनाएंगे, atom bomb बन गया, घास खाने को भी नहीं आता वहाँ पर. So, like Lohia ji said that we can have confederation of all these countries because that Muslims have certain skills, Hindus have certain qualities, they work together, they can create a wonderful confederation. So if Pakistan had worked on those ideas, we could have Akhand Bharat without there being politically one Akhand Bharat. Bangladesh is going that way unless Sheikh Hasina is removed and these jihadis come back. So this Akhand Bharat will become, will be there. In what form? That only history will tell. To my mind, it will become many small states, and some states will have to cooperate with Bharat because that is the only way they can survive and thrive. They have seen how Bharat has prospered, and that will few mad camps who will keep on creating trouble, which will be trouble for Afghanistan, which will be trouble for Iraq and Iran, etc. Or USA, maybe China, but it will happen. And I don't believe, as I said, unless they drop the Islamist stand, they cannot be strong. And only then they can be good friends of Bharat. Otherwise, they will keep on dreaming of Kashmir. You find a lot of scholars believing that this must go. The shibboleth of Kashmir must go. With my, that saying that without Kashmir I am incomplete, that I will do whatever to, destroy Bharat. Yeah, Bharat is beyond that. So earlier they understand. And you will also see that a lot of intellectuals in Pakistan who said our history begins with Muhammad bin Qasim. Today say we are linked to Harappa Mohenjo-daro or we are linked to Takshashila. So they are trying to find the root. As soon as they find the root, they will become Indian.
I think I can sum up by saying Inshallah for that. And we just have 2-3 minutes with the permission. It's the last question. This is demand for one question.
I have a question which I think will be from a lot of people's mind from the current scenario past 2-3 years. Right, and I think you are the best person to clarify that after. So this will resonate with a lot of people, and I wanted to take this opportunity to ask here. There have been a lot of statements by Mohan Bahadur recently about DNA and something like that. So it confuses a lot of civic including you. Right. So maybe you can give a perspective like what it actually means. Does it actually come in the way of conflict resolution, or maybe a new perspective which we can think of?
पहला एक क्वेरी है, दूसरा सर एक आपके मेरे फ्रेंड है सर, उन्होंने एक बुक लिखी है सर, ब्रीफ के मोदी, वी वांट टू गिव दिस. So first, which one you want first? Book give or first you want the query sir? The query is related to sir.
So my query is just related to that. Whenever there is conflict, in Indian scenario, political parties came into the picture and they are supporting the opposite side of the government. What is our take home and what is our way ahead in this case? Whether it will be a Khalistan, it will be a Islamic movement, whether it will be any kind of a conflict. That's it.
So I take a question. First you said that, what are the question again you said?
So my question is that sir, whenever there is a conflict.
Yes. See what happens, people are seen through now. For example, in Punjab, as soon as Amritpal was touched, they said human rights are violation of that. That's why the only thing I quoted from a book was human rights issue. So now Akali says I will support, oppression of human rights. So I will go to court, I will support the person. Similar to what Owaisi says, that I will support the terrorists in the courts. So when these political parties use human rights for any victimism to support such people, now people see through. So having seen through, these people will slowly lose power of controlling the people's mind. These are all sporadic, last-ditch battle of these people having lost relevance. So you can identify them and respond to them. I mean, it does a response to the voting machine. So people realize now that these people will just oppose anything and they will do anything to get some support. So that's why I gave example of human rights violation issue being now talked of by Akali Dal and by Congress. Say exactly similar stance was taken as Khalistan also. As far as your question is concerned, sir, I have done YouTube from this. 40 minutes, 50 minutes, to expect the answer in 2 minutes is not possible. But to put it simply, we have to concede DNA is same, whether you like it or not. DNA is same in case of Bharatamata also. Krishna Bhagavan went and told Kauravas that we have same DNA, why fight, give them some 5 villages, they refused, and there is Mahabharata. Now when you offer this particular, option of being friendly and brotherly, it's for the other side to respond positively, whether they want to stay together as part of the same family or they want to create Mahabharata. I will close it with that because it's a huge answer I cannot give in such a short time, but you get my ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Hand over the mic to Harima Ji to take the event forward.
Thank you, Ratan Sharda Ji, for giving us a direction to understand these conflicts start from the truth. So I want to also thank Balreddy Garu and Rakesh Ji. I want to call Lakshman Rao Ji now to felicitate Sharda Ji. Yeah, sir, for Rakesh Singh. And now we move towards the end of the program. I would request Ayush Ji to come forward and present the concluding remarks and vote of thanks.
On behalf of Samvit Kendra, I stand here like Balreddy said, he represents Samvit Kendra and you. I also represent you and Samvit Kendra. I would like to thank the Association of Vajra Srinivasan for giving this hall, for organizing this wonderful event. I also would like to thank Wing Commander Rakesh Ji for coming at a very short notice and sparing time and sharing his insights about the life in the defense forces and how he, from their perspective, they see conflict resolution. I'd also like to thank the media persons from Nationalist Hub Jagruti Samachara Bharati for covering the event and a wonderful audience who have come here. So before we close, then the next question, every event that we have of this kind is what next? So what should we do next, right? So it's not an event where you hear and we go back. So every problem like Ratan Ji or Rakesh Ji, Balreddy Ji have mentioned, they have similar resonance in where we stay also. Bharat is the same everywhere, the problems are the same, the only thing is the names are different. So if you look at the history of Hyderabad state,
earlier. When Hyderabad state was liberated in 1948, very few people know that the communists waged a battle against the Indian state for 2 years. So from 1948 to 1950, there was a battle for a separate state of Telangana, which will be communist in nature. So when we look at this problem, how the leaders of that point, there was an election at that point of the communists, the party that was supported by the communists, they were overwhelmingly about to win. They won more votes than the Congress. It was Govind Vallabh Pant who was the Home Minister at that point of time, and he said that I will not allow an Naxalite state within center of Bharat. It was when the decision to the reorganization of states happened and whatever happened after that. So a large chunk of people, the defense labs that came up here, this was all part of a larger strategy which the government of that time had. Secondly, the way people have responded to this, the challenges, whether it was the communists or the Islamists, because the Islamic forces here which were ruling before 1948, they had this tendency to think that hum yahan ke malik hai. So after the state of Telangana was formed again in 2014, the debate that is running right now is kiski Telangana hai, right? So all the narrative issues that are happening now, whether it is by the so-called left groups or from Islamist groups, they are all talking about that the playing on the fissures or the fault lines which exist in each place. It's easy to magnify a fault line. So within Samvit Kendra we have a center called Center for Cultural Studies. Now Ratan Ji was in the University of Hyderabad day before yesterday. So when he went, obviously he was talking about wokeism and all that. So what is this wokeism about? It is about an output of the cultural studies. So cultural studies, when we hear the word cultural studies, we feel that it is the study of culture, so which must be good. But cultural studies is the study of culture to deconstruct culture, so that the society can be, whatever is the end output is that they want to create the cultural Marxist map. That is the end output, so that the whatever the direction that they want to lead it, it will lead in that way. But from our point of view, when we say सांस्कृतिक विषयों के ऊपर चर्चा, so when we say सांस्कृतिक विषय, we don't mean that cultural studies. So within Samvit Kendra, we have this center for सांस्कृतिक studies. So to present what is actually culture, right? So understanding these fault lines, understanding our response, what should be the investment from our side. So we require people who do translations, who are into deeper research, who will look beyond the current political framework, who are able to work on a long-term basis. Just to conclude, before the whole, when we talked about the Sikhi parampara, it's about 500 years for us. But the first census that came in where Britishers introduced Sikh as separate from Hindu was in 1885. So within a span of 100 years, from 1885 to 1985, they have been able to establish a narrative that we are separate. Secondly, after Operation Blue Star, when the whole Harmandir Sahib was reconstructed, all the elements that depicted Hindu connects, they were all wiped off. So we have a situation today where both Keshdari and Sahajdari both are not clear about whether we have the same roots or not. So what Samvit has done is we have published a book called Philosophy of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, which traces the commonality between the Vedic tradition and Sikhi. So on each aspect, whether it is reincarnation, it is related to Jati Vyavastha, different subjects. What does Sikhi say and what is the Vedic concept? So we have published a book on that. Similar kind of initiatives we want to take up. We are working on a book on Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan as he was. So that will be another contribution from our side. We have worked on a book called The Liberation Struggle of Hyderabad, Nizam's Rule Unmasked. So there are a lot of initiatives that Samvit is taking up. If you can meet any of our team members. And in that form also you have an option. So somebody will contact you with related to how you want to address this. Finally, when it comes to census, in continuation to the Sikhi, this Khalistan thing, this is not a one-off activity, because there is a big movement today to ask the Janajatis to say that we are not Hindus. So there is a movement called Gondis. They will write that we are Gondis. So if there is an option in the survey form, whether are you Hindu or are you Gondi? So you will say Gondi. So states are beginning to work on this. These kind of censuses are not only driven by the center, there are the state governments also which are taking up similar kind of initiatives where they are doing this. So we need to be aware and we need to spread more awareness among our circles, and especially to reach out to university students, to college going students, to help them to understand this whole game that is happening. So in that way, whatever way you can contribute, whether by translation or meeting students or organizing events or doing some research, doing some collation of books, especially from 1900 to 1920, responses of Indian scholars to the British mechanisms, the malpractices the Britishers did, those kind of things. So any form where you can contribute in some intellectual activity, please come forward and contribute. There is also a stall at the back, at the end of the hall, where we have some of Ratan Ji's books also there. So I thank the audience for sharing them, and finally to Dr. Ratan Sharda Ji for sparing his valuable time. This is his prime time debate time actually. So he is with us. And we have been able to hold him because there are two veterans besides him also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arish ji. So I want to repeat the Suchna that we have a special discount today for the books. So please use this opportunity. Now this program will be concluded by singing our national anthem. So request every one of you to stand up.